Hello and welcome everybody once again to a brand new episode of Malicious Compliance. My name's Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, and I look forward to bringing you guys today's top stories. Before I do, however, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and make sure you got notifications turned on, that way you could stay up to date with all the latest and greatest. Short me $70,000 in violation of our written agreement. It'll cost you $1.8 million. Background. A year out of school in the early 1990s, I procured a job as a business analyst for a large family-owned tech company. This business was located in the booming heart of technology at the time and was very profitable. As tech took off over the next decade, the company thrived and remained family-owned. That was a rich family, and the company became exceedingly wealthy with a valuation/net worth of the high 9/low 10 figures. The family that owned it was quite neurotic, very moody, and had a reputation as a very ruthless and greedy company when it came to financing, deal-making, employees, etc. I truly believe this is what held them back from ultimately becoming a household name as a company. As I progressed in the company, I gained more and more face time with the owners. I worked on some projects directly with ownership that really paid off and gained me even greater access to their inner circle. And now, like a lot of people at the time, and particularly those who worked in tech, I was heavily invested in tech stocks. I discussed some of my investments and gained with ownership as a casual conversation, though investing had nothing to do with my role in the company. That is, until one day in late 1999, when the owner came to me and asked if I would invest some of his personal money. He wanted me to take big risks to see if they would pay off using $1 million of his personal money. I was a bit hesitant, but still being in my late 20s and wanting to prove myself, I said I would. I asked for a written agreement where they would acknowledge that this wasn't my role in the company, was a personal matter between the owner and me, and to document my compensation for this side arrangement, 20% of all profits. Around this same time, and by working in the industry, I started to notice the weaknesses associated with a lot of the tech companies. They just weren't living up to their hype and stock price, and some seemed like they were starting to run out of money. I had no inside info, just a strong sense of which companies were struggling based off my work in the business. Based on this sense, I started using both my money and the owner's money to short tech companies just after the new year in 2000. For anyone unfamiliar with shorting, it means the value of a stock decreases, the value of the investment increases. I had a few long positions, but my overall position was very short. Since the owner wanted big risk and big reward, I used his money and obtained leverage or margin from the financial institution where I maintained both his and my trading accounts. Their accounts were separate, but both under my name. Again, I documented this and gained consent. And well, both my accounts and his suffered some moderate losses in the first 2 months of 2000 before the bubble began to burst in both accounts, but his in particular began to skyrocket. Ownership's pettiness. In June, the company began to suffer a downturn. We were still profitable, but since we provided tech services and products, we were not immune to weaknesses in the broader market. I had not informed the owner of my short strategy. He came to me one day and asked how his money was doing, saying he suspected it was way down like the general market. To his surprise, I informed him that while we still had some money tied up in options, puts and shorts, but based on the positions I had closed, there was $1.35 million in cash still sitting in the account that belonged to him. Again, I still had a bunch of open positions, which meant, if memory serves me, were worth about $1 million on that date. But the positions I had closed had yielded $1.35 million in cash just sitting in his account, which was in my name. The owner, either through ignorance or lack of attention, said, "Great, $1.35 million. Fantastic work in this down market. Will you please wire it to me?" I responded that I would, but would be taking my 20% of the $350,000 profit, or $70,000 before wiring him the $280,000. I also reminded him I still had open positions that had yet to pay off or close, but I didn't state the amount. He once again appeared not to understand or comprehend the open position statement, but instead totally focused on and became incensed about my rightful claim for $70,000. He went on and on about how times were tough and how I should be grateful for a job, particularly at my young age, and the entire $350,000 was necessary for him and the company. I knew this wasn't true based on my position within the company. Worse, this was my first time personally experiencing the greedy and corrupt nature that served as the basis for the owner's reputation. The revenge. Now comes the revenge. Since, after 2 separate conversations, the owner didn't seem to grasp that the open positions would yield at least some income and thus additional profit, I decided not to mention it again. I sent him back the entire $1.35 million and continued to manage the open positions to the best of my ability. And here's the kicker. The owner never brought it up again. He seemed to think the $1.35 million payment was the entire value of the account, and never understood or remembered that open positions still existed. He never asked for records, tax documents, or any time of audit or financials. Given the fact that he was dishonest with me, I didn't feel the need to disabuse him of that notion. Ultimately, after a bit more net gain, I covered all of the shorts and exercised all of the options, puts in this case, for an additional $1.8 million. I worked for the company for 3 more years, and the owner never asked about it during my tenure, after I gave notice or since. I know it's a bit crass and even shady, but given his dishonest with me over the $70,000, I felt justified in keeping the additional $1.8 mil. I paid taxes on the gain, long-term cap gain, and went on my way with a fantastic nest egg. Nobody's asked about it since, and I've only told the story to a few people. Even then, only after the statute of limitations passed. The final, ironic cherry on top of this sundae is that during my remaining 3 years, I gained greater influence with the ownership and position within the company because they considered me loyal for giving the $1.35 million back and not making too much of a stink about the $70K profit. Little did they know, I got the better of them. The company eventually folded due to family disputes, but my understanding is that ownership walked away in a very good financial position. They likely could have been a much better and greater company if they hadn't practiced the same dishonesty that they showed me with their vendors, clients, and employees. Thanks for reading, and I hope you enjoyed. Give me a hard time when I'm serving you and your friends. Okay. Years ago, I worked at a busy corporate sit-down burger restaurant. One day, I'm hustling through the lunch rush, and I have 6 college guys sit down. One guy flags me over and loudly pronounces that they're ready to order right away. What are you guys having? I ask. Guys? The same guys say with a smirk on his face. Guys? That doesn't sound like a very professional greeting to me. I work at a restaurant too, and if I walked up to a table and asked, "What are you guys having?" my manager would definitely let me know that was inappropriate. The other guys at the table look kind of uncomfortable at this exchange, and just silently sit there. The main guy looks around at all of them and keeps going. Why don't you come up to us again and do it right? At this point, I'm looking around at my massive sections of tables and getting the distinct feeling I'm going to be at this table forever. I'm trying to not lose my cool, so I smile. Sure, I say. I take several steps back and walk up again. Gentlemen, how are you all doing? Ready to order? The main guy smirks and nods, and I look directly at him. How about you, Chief? What are you having today? Some of the other guys laugh. He looks angrily at me, but orders his burger and a drink. I get everyone's order and hustle off. I return with drinks a little while later. I set everyone's drinks down and do the main guy's last. Here you go, boss. I leave before he can say anything. Through the course of their meal, I call him a different nickname every time. Need a refill, pal? How's your burger, buddy? Need more ketchup, bro? Can I get that plate out of your way, dude? Any dessert for you, amigo? Need me to split your check, brother? Make sure you leave me one signed copy, muchacho. So by this time, the guy's boiling. His friends are loving it, though. As time's gone on, the rest of them keep looking at me expectantly. What nickname next? Finally, they all get up and leave. Lunch rush is ended, and I'm chilling at this point. I casually walk up to them. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. The rest of the group is smiling, and I look at the main guy. And you? You have a fantastic day, hoss. The rest of the guys cheer, they all head out. I grab the receipt on the table. Surprise, surprise, the main guy left me 0 for a tip. I didn't care, it was all worth it. Get cracking on an essay about arthritis? Sure, Mom. I was reminiscing after I made the poor nurse shudder after cracking my knuckles at my doctor's appointment. It reminded me of a funny story with my mom. My mom absolutely loathed whenever I cracked my knuckles around her. I can't help myself. It's a bad habit, and once I start, I have to do all of them. She would constantly yell for me to stop. She would tell me it's bad for me and that I'm gonna get arthritis from doing it. One day at home, I started making my fingers into Rice Krispie treats. Snap, crackle, pop. Mom had enough and snapped herself.
I want you to write a
That's way too annoying.
I want you to write a 2-page essay about cracking your fingers, including about arthritis. No more than double space, 12-point font, and all of that. I don't want you trying anything funny.
Well, of course, I'm gonna try something funny. We wouldn't be here if I didn't. So cue that malicious compliance. I sat at the computer and pulled open Google and typed in, "How cracking your fingers does not cause arthritis." Turns out I was correct. I had plenty of sources, including one guy who cracked his knuckles regularly on one hand and not at all on the other. The other hand got arthritis, and the cracking hand did not. I included that. A few other truthful things, like how it does cause loss of grip, but ultimately it was about how it helped and prevented arthritis in the long term. She took the essay without a word, skimmed it, and called it good to my surprise. I couldn't believe I got away with it. But I also remember that it got brought up in a conversation in my adult years before cancer claimed her.
What did I tell you about cracking your knuckles? I had you write an essay on that and everything.
You didn't read that, did you?
What makes you think that?
Me smiling like a fox in a henhouse. 'Cause I wrote on how it prevents arthritis. My mom then had a surprised Pikachu face. You did not. Cited sources and everything.
You brat!
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I certainly loved my mom. And there you have it, folks. Or maybe that was too unprofessional. Let me take a new approach.
Here we are, my liege, the end of today's epics. If you doth care for more of my videos, please hit the subscribe button along with notifications turned on so that you may stay up to date with all the latest and the greatest.
As always, my name's Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, uploading just about every single day, and I look forward to seeing you guys in tomorrow's video.